You have a barbershop business. The defendant left your employment.
Correct. I opened my own business.
You signed this non-compete agreement.
Yes, I did, but under duress.
You cannot open up a competing business 2.8 miles away from her.
This is crazy.
That's what she's entitled to do. She's the boss, applesauce.
This is Judy Justice. Nicole Messino is suing her former employee, Felicia Stella, for breach of contract, slander, and loss of income.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 3095, Messino versus Stella.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Messino, you have a barbershop business.
Correct.
How long have you had it?
Since 2016.
How many people did you have working for you when you had the most people working for you, the most barbers working for you?
Currently, right now, I own 2 barbershops, and right now I have 11 employees.
When did you purchase the second shop?
The middle of December.
2023.
2023, yes.
The defendant worked in the initial shop.
That's correct.
Starting when?
In 2017.
Until when?
Until August 6th of 2022.
From what I read, all of the people that worked for you up until a particular time, and that would probably be around 2022, were 1099 employees, which means they were independent contractors. So at the end of the year, you gave them a Form 1099. They took care of their own taxes.
Correct.
At some point, according to you, you decided to make everyone employees.
Correct.
And at that time, you also decided to have all of your people sign agreements. And the agreements provided that they could not open up a barber business within a certain radius of your business.
Correct.
The defendant left your employment and opened up her own barbershop.
Correct.
She left your employ on August the 6th of 2022?
Correct.
And when did you open up your own barbershop, Miss Stella?
October 25th of 2023.
October 25.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was 2022. I apologize.
May I see a copy of the contract that you had with Miss Stella? Because what you're suing for is breach of contract.
Correct.
This contract. And slander. Well, you signed this agreement, madam.
Yes, I did, but under duress.
Just a second. I didn't ask you anything. You signed this agreement. I mean, I understand what you are alleging. You're alleging that you signed it under duress. Now, Sarah, would you look up for me non-compete agreements, Pennsylvania?
Sure. The
Pennsylvania law on the parameters of a non-compete. How many miles?
It's 3 to 5 miles in the state of Pennsylvania.
Oh, well, that's what Sarah's going to check.
I'll let you know. Give me 1 second.
Okay, so you signed this non-compete agreement. It is your defense that she threatened to terminate you if you didn't sign it. That's your defense.
No, I didn't.
To this.
And more.
Yes.
There's more than that as well.
But that's your defense to this, to signing this agreement, that she said either you sign it,
Yes, ma'am.
or I'm going to fire you.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's okay. She could do that. It's our business.
In the state of Pennsylvania, there's contract law. There's three things that go with that. There's an offer, and then there's an acceptance and consideration.
Let me explain something to you. The laws of contract in every jurisdiction are the same. There has to be initially an offer, an acceptance, and consideration. That forms the basis of any contract.
Yes, ma'am.
There is an offer, an acceptance, and consideration.
No.
Absolutely, there is here. It's not as if Miss Stella, she said to you, if you don't sign this agreement, I'm going to amputate your arm at the elbow.
Okay.
That's different. She's allowed to say to you, I'm not hiring anybody or maintaining in my employment anybody who doesn't sign a non-compete clause. They're perfectly valid.
Okay.
And she's allowed to say that to you. You're allowed to leave. This is America. And she's allowed to fire you. She's the boss. She's allowed to say to you, in my shop from now on, everybody has to wear a uniform. I don't want to wear a uniform. Then you're fired. You don't have a right to a job unless you meet the requirements of your employer. The only question that I have is how many miles?
So there's not a set radius. It's all about reasonableness. The geography must feature a limited geography, for example, within a defined area such as a city, normally unenforceable to prohibit employees from working for any competitor across the country.
No,
but
that's,
as long as it's
that's too onerous.
exactly. But as long as it's a defined geography, it tends to be reasonable.
Okay, so what you're saying, Ms. Stella, is that you have proof that in the state of Pennsylvania, it either has to be 3 or 5 miles. It can't be both.
It's just, it just says between 3 to 5 miles. I don't have, and I do not have that proof. I apologize.
How many miles is the shop that you opened up from her shop?
It's 2.8 miles away.
Well, that's too close, madam. She's absolutely right. You breached her contract.
Okay. If I took her clients, then I
No, you breached her contract. It says that you cannot open a competing business for 5 years, and you certainly fall within the radius. You violated this contract.
Okay.
She's absolutely right.
All right.
When you left in August of 2022, where did you go?
I left. I didn't have anywhere to go.
So when was the next time you worked?
When I opened my own business.
And when you opened your own business, that was 3 months later.
Yes, sure was.
Don't be snippy, Miss Stella. It was 3 months later. How many of her barbers came with you?
3, 4 of us.
3.
3 total. 4 total.
4 total, you and 3 others. Is not
Yes,
an answer.
ma'am.
Yes is the answer.
I'm sorry.
Yes, is
ma'am.
an answer. And the 3 others, did any of them come from her shop?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it's a breach of contract. It's clear.
They all left on their free will.
Okay.
I can't. I apologize.
Breach of contract. You have a counterclaim, which is interesting. And your counterclaim is for money owed for defamation of character, slander, harassment, and emotional distress.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not interested in the signing of this agreement.
Okay.
I'm interested in how you claim the plaintiff defamed you.
Well, her and her husband had a whole conversation about me on Facebook, ma'am.
Just a second. I'm not interested in her husband.
Okay.
I'd like to see what you claim she did to defame you.
She proceeded to write emails to my family.
Just a second. All
Okay.
I have to do is see what you claim she did to defame you.
It says that I have a current
Kevin,
record.
would you please get what she says she believes is actionable? Maybe.
She said I was stealing company time.
Hold on. Could you please just hand it to me?
Yeah. And I've been manipulating people, Your Honor.
Don't speak. Julia. And who is Julia?
My sister.
Okay. You wrote an email to
I
Julia.
wrote a heartfelt email
Just a
to
second.
Julia.
Just say what. Who cares? Next.
I do, because I'm a recovering
Just a
addict.
second.
And for
Just
you
a
to go
sec-
out and
Just
say
a
those
second.
things.
She's allowed to write a private communication to somebody. That's
a
not
third party?
published. That's not
That's
published.
not
You
true?
say she's defamed you publicly. She's allowed to write whatever she
She's-
wants in a private letter
She
to somebody.
stopped a police officer and lawyer on the street and told him that I was using drugs, actively using
Would you?
drugs.
Just a second. If you have that person here, I'll actually hear them.
Right.
But you don't. I'd like to see what you claim is actionable that she wrote about you. You said she posted something on Facebook. Well, Facebook is a public forum.
Yes, it is.
A letter to your sister is not a public forum. All I care about
Right,
is
this
what
is it.
she
This is it.
wrote. Fine.
It.
Oh, she says the cancer is gone and the entire aura of the shop has changed. The dark cloud is gone. It's almost a clean slate with your new employees. You can expand and turn Giovanni's into a barbershop powerhouse. It was meant to me. What defamation is that? You talk. What?
They can't. They look. The cancer. Like, I'm not a cancer.
Okay.
This is crazy.
All right.
She went around and told people that I was
Sure.
actively using hard drugs, ma'am.
Madam!
Okay.
Nicole Messino claims her former employee, Felicia Stella, breached their contract and stole her customers. Felicia is countersuing for harassment, slander, and defamation.
If you bring me a witness, I will hear you. I'm not hearing what she told a policeman on the street or what she told
That's fair.
strangers. Nothing that you've shown me that was published is defamation. What else?
I was countersuing also for mental anguish. Your Honor, I am a recovering heroin addict, and I am open about that. And I tell
she's
people
using
that.
drugs.
And
Just a second. You have to understand, I didn't say that, and good for you if you got your life back on track. terrific for you. But in order to have emotional distress, you have to have somebody who's guilty of something that's illegal or against the rule of civil law. So far, you have nothing. This doesn't say anything, that the cancer is gone and the aura of my shop is now different. You may have been hurt about it, but that's not actionable. Do you understand?
I do. I thought
Okay.
because there was a full
Okay.
conversation, that was my misunderstanding, that there was a whole conversation between her and her husband on social media with my name in it. So that was,
Sorry. And you breached your contract, Miss Stella.
Your Honor, may I say something?
About what?
About the contract, and because I am also a former employee of hers.
No, you can't. Did you sign a contract?
I did.
She threatened to fire you if you didn't sign it?
Correct.
That's what she's entitled to do. She's the boss, applesauce. She's the boss. People in this country think that they're entitled to jobs. Once you have a job, you're entitled to keep it. Pay attention. You're
I'm not saying anything.
entitled to fire anybody that works for you. I can look at Kevin and I can say, you know what? Last year I loved you. This year not so much. You're fired. He has a contract. I have to pay him out of his contract. I would never say that to him because I adore him. But he's capable of being fired. He's capable of being fired for anything other than a violation of the Constitution, which means you're being fired for race, religion, sexual orientation, probably a couple of other things that I've forgotten, some of which I think are absolute nonsense. But they're entitled to fire you if you refuse to sign an agreement that prohibits you from stealing their clients and their employees. They're absolutely
We were independent
entitled
I was an
to.
independent contractor for 8 years. Tell me how they were her clients. They were not her clients.
You violated the terms of the contract. You cannot open up a competing business 2.8 miles away from her within
She tried to make
in
me
3 months.
unemployable.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10,000. You count the claims dismissed. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
Apparently, I was a cancer that worked there. Apparently, people didn't like me.
I think it was very fair. She signed a non-compete.
When I quit, so did 5 other of her staff members.
She turned all my employees against me, and she staged a walkout and took them because I was making changes to my business.
We're doing great. We're thriving. We're growing. And things have just been beautiful.
You know what? May the best business win because she pushed me to go further. I opened up a second barbershop in By Felicia.
You know, I still can't get past the fact, Sarah, that in this country now there's a sense of entitlement that once you start a job for a reason, for a non-reason, and we're not talking about the violations of
The Constitution.
the Constitution. We're talking about
Parameters set by bosses.
parameters. You have to be in at 9 o'clock. Well, but I can't because I get up late. I'll stay later. I can't be in by 9 o'clock. You're fired. Period.
Yeah.
I want you to continue to be my employee, but we're changing from 1099s to employees. If you don't sign this agreement, you're fired.
Yeah. As soon as I read the papers, I knew the defendant had misunderstood the definition of duress because
Yes.
it was smeared all over her answer that I only signed it under duress, duress this, duress that. Well, being offered the handbook of the place in which you are employed and being offered a choice of these are the new requirements. If you like it, great, sign
If
it,
not-
continue
if
working,
not,
and if
adios.
not, goodbye.
Yes.
And that's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, but don't sign it, then go off and open up 2.8 miles
Oh, yeah.
away a competing business and take 3 people with you. Yeah, that's a no-no.
Blonsey O'Barron is suing his ex-girlfriend, Sharila Williams, for stolen property and money taken from his bank account.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 3056, O'Brien versus Williams.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. O'Barron, you and the defendant were a couple for a while.
Yes.
From when to when?
2021 to 2023,
When in 2023?
October.
Well, we're not there yet. October of 2023 comes up in a few months.
That was 2022, I meant.
Okay, so From 2021 to October
2022.
of 2022.
Yes, my bad.
And you lived together. According to what I've read, you took an apartment and the lease was in both your names?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
And in what month and year was that lease signed?
In June.
June of 2022?
Yes.
Okay. You are in a wheelchair as a result of being shot.
Right.
When were you shot?
June 23rd,
Of what year?
2022.
Under what circumstances?
It was an altercation with my mother, my kids, and our boyfriend.
Okay, so it was somebody that you knew.
Yes.
And was that person arrested?
No.
Did you know who it was?
Yes, I know who it was.
Is there any reason why that person wasn't arrested who shot you?
I had a gun myself, and then the gun happened to go off. I didn't have an altercation with the person, so it was with somebody else. He was just there, and then he started shooting.
When you moved into the apartment with the defendant, you had not been shot.
No.
So when you were shot, you were hospitalized for a while?
Yes, I was
How long?
actually in the hospital for about 3-4 months.
I'm going to come to you with some dates.
Yes, Your Honor.
You moved into this apartment together in October of 2022,
So we moved in June of 2022.
and he was shot that same month.
Yes, ma'am.
And he spent several months in the hospital.
He spent like 3 months in the hospital. Yes, Your Honor.
Your complaint against the defendant is that she used some money because you subsequently became incarcerated.
She didn't use it. She stole it.
She stole, you were living together,
Yes.
I assume sharing expenses,
Right.
and you had a bank account.
Yes.
You were incarcerated,
Yes.
which means that whatever income you had went into that bank.
Yes, ma'am.
And the two of you, when you were in the apartment, shared expenses, including rent. How did you expect her to pay rent with you incarcerated if she didn't use your money that was going into your bank account, which she had control over?
The rent was already paid for 3 months.
You were incarcerated on what day?
I was in the hospital when the rent was already paid.
Well, you were in the hospital, but then you went to jail.
I went to jail.
Okay, you went to jail from when to when?
October till April.
The lease wasn't up until May. How was she supposed to pay rent?
That's what I'm saying. I paid.
Are you
the rent.
telling me in October you paid October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May?
I paid for 3 months.
Which 3 months?
From October, maybe till December.
Let's say it's true. I assume you can prove to me that you paid the rent for those couple of months. What happened to December, January, February, March, and April? What about those 5 months?
We actually didn't have an agreement for me to pay anything, so
You were both on the lease. You were both fully
Right.
responsible for the rent.
Right.
And you were paying something
Right.
towards the rent.
Right.
Well, I'm asking you, how do you expect her to pay the rent? What was the total rent?
The rent was $750 a month, Your Honor.
And prior to going to jail, how much did you contribute towards the rent? Is not an answer.
I wasn't working at the time because my situation, from October, I was being incarcerated, and I applied for disability, and then I was waiting to get approved while I was.
Well, you got disability. That's what you're complaining about, that you took
Yes.
money out of your account. The money that came out of your account to pay some of these bills was from disability.
I wish you would pay some bills with it. That would make me feel a lot better. But she never paid no bills. She just used the money for unnecessary stuff. So.
How do you know that?
Because I have the proof. If she would pay the bills with the money, when I got home, when I get out, I will probably have somewhere to go. When I left the hospital, I had a GoFundMe. I had a little money. I was helping paying
Just a
bills.
second, you did a GoFundMe?
Yes, from the
what?
hospital, from the months I was in the hospital, so to help me with my medical needs and stuff.
How much did you collect from a GoFundMe page?
2,800 something.
Do you have an outstanding medical bill?
No, I don't. I actually had Medicaid then at the time.
So that you had no hospital bill. You walked out of the hospital, didn't pay anything.
No, I applied while I was in the hospital.
Doesn't matter. You didn't pay anything, correct?
No.
So what did you do with the $2,800 you
No,
got from? Shh.
Okay, I'm sorry.
What did you do with the $2,800 that you got from the GoFundMe page? I'm just curious.
I actually bought a lot of stuff for me to use. When I got out, I needed a lot of stuff.
Okay, you say she took money. Did you take any money out of his account?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
How much did you take out?
I roughly spent maybe $3,000.
on bills.
Okay, and what did you spend the $3,000 on?
There was rent, there was food, there were utilities, my car note.
Well, why is he responsible for your car note? Why is he responsible for your food?
Blondie agreed to take care of me because I was not working. I stopped working when he had his incident, his shooting incident. I stopped working to take care of him, to be there for him. And so I had no income coming in. Blondie stated to me that once he received his disability, he was going to take care of me because he had been priorly living with me and not paying any bills.
Is that right, sir? That's a simple answer. She said something to me. It sort of makes sense. And all I'm asking you is the statements that she just made to me, are they accurate?
Aaron claims his ex-girlfriend, Sharila Williams, stole his property and wrongfully withdrew money from his bank account. Sharila is countersuing for property damage.
The statements that she just made to me, are they accurate?
Somewhat.
What's not accurate? Were you living with her?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you paying bills when you were living with her? Rent, food, utilities?
Yes.
Were you paying for that?
I actually paid for food. Yeah.
Okay, so you paid for nothing. And then prior to your becoming incapacitated, was the defendant working?
She actually was working and then she stopped working.
She was working. What was she doing? You were living together, so you know what she was doing. What was she doing?
She wasn't really taking care of me.
I didn't ask about taking care of you.
She wasn't doing nothing.
I asked, was she working prior to your becoming incapacitated?
Yes.
What kind of work was she doing?
Nursing.
She was a nurse.
Yeah.
Are you still nursing?
Your Honor, I'm a medical office receptionist, so I'm not a nurse, Your Honor.
We should have gotten to know you a little bit better. Okay, and on what date did you leave that job?
I stopped working in July.
You were shot in June.
June, yes.
And then you were in the hospital for a while.
Yes.
And prior to being shot, you were not in a wheelchair.
No.
When you came home, was the defendant at home?
Sometimes.
What do you mean sometimes? She was on the lease.
After a couple months from being there, she didn't want to be at the house. She was getting...
Was she with you in July?
Yes, ma'am.
Was she with you in August?
Yes.
Okay. What credit card charges do you believe exist that the defendant used your credit card without your permission?
Oh, right here.
This is a checking account statement, sir.
It's the checking account. It wasn't a credit card.
So she never used your credit card without permission?
No, it wasn't in a credit card.
Okay.
It was just checking account.
In January, February, and March of 2023, you were incarcerated.
Yes.
What were you incarcerated for?
It was a warrant that I have.
Your Honor, it was a warrant from a violent situation that he incurred with his witness.
Tell me about it.
They had a disturbance at her location, and they arrested him from the house that we shared due to a warrant from his witness.
Okay, and was that because you called the police because you were having an altercation?
I called the police because we were having an altercation, but they arrested him due to an incident between him and his child's mother.
Okay, and when did that occur?
That occurred October 28th.
Now, what items do you say that she took from you without permission?
All my personal belongings, like clothes, shoes, everything. I left with nothing at all, like when I got out.
When you got out of jail?
Yes.
Okay. When you got out of jail, what was the date that you were released from jail?
April 14th.
And where did you go?
I actually slept in the car that night because...
Where did you go the next day?
The next day, my kid's mother helped me find a hotel and pay for it.
And what happened to the apartment that you had been sharing with the defendant?
The week before I got out, me and the defendant, we was actually talking. When I got out, she was gonna release everything to me so we can move on. But
so you could move on?
But we both can move on. So the week before I got out, she started me answering the phone from the jail. And then she had a plan to move out, but when she moved...
Well, the lease was up the next month.
I don't think the lease was off yet.
Yeah, the lease was going to be up the next month. It was a year lease.
Well, I'm not sure about that.
Well, I'm telling you, it was a year lease. It was going to be up the next month.
Okay, well, then again, she didn't want me to be there anymore.
Well, you had an altercation with her, did you not?
After my incident, she started there.
Just a second, you had an altercation with her?
We had, yes.
You had the altercation in October.
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And as a result of that altercation, another warrant dropped on you from another incident.
Yes.
So I can imagine that she didn't want to be with you anymore because she had called the police on you as a result of the October incident.
No, that wasn't the reason.
Why? What was the reason?
The reason was because I wasn't good enough at the point because of my situation. I was in a wheelchair. She didn't want nothing to do with me at that point anymore.
Okay.
The only reason she actually led me on when the doctor told me I couldn't walk anymore. I told her, you don't have to be there if you don't want to. And even my mom told her that when she seen her outside the hospital. But she kind of feels some type of way about that. And then when I told her after that, she told me, well, your mom tell me the same thing, but I choose to be here because, you know, I love you, this and that. So she leave me on, tell me, I'm going to help you. You can come back home with this and that. And then a couple months after the low money I got from the GoFundMe was over, everything I said was an argument, and we started getting into altercation every other day. Because after the 2 months that I didn't have nothing to basically give her anymore, and being in my situation, it's like she was using that to, you know, take advantage of everything.
What did she take?
She took my clothes, everything that I owned. She took everything that I owned.
Your Honor, I took some of his belongings to an address that he resides at also. I dropped some belongings off over there in Independence, Missouri.
And do you know who lives there?
Yes, his brothers live there.
And what did you bring over there?
I dropped off a couple Tupperware of clothes, Your Honor. I didn't want to bring anything personally to him because I just kind of feared for my life. And so I dropped some belongings off prior to him getting out. And then once he was released out, I kind of took some time to give him some of his rest of his belongings just because I was scared.
How did you give him those belongings after he got out?
I personally handed them to him.
Where?
His address in Independence.
Where his brother also lives?
Yes.
You remember that?
No, I have no idea what she's talking about, Your Honor.
What address is on your driver's license?
Her address, actually.
Okay. Did you call anyone before you went over there with these bags of clothing?
I talked to Blondie and I told him I was going to drop his stuff off. He gave me an address to drop the stuff off.
Can I see that, please? Do you remember that, sir?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, just don't say anything.
Yep.
And she's going to show me.
I actually gave her an address, but nothing ever. Never.
Just a second. So now you're remembering that you gave her.
Yes,
and
I did.
I'd like to see what she has, please. It doesn't say anything. I will give you your belongings. We can move on, but
it's up at the top where I'm asking him for the address.
Address or what?
And he's not sending it, but he did send me an address. I just don't have that with me, Your Honor.
Okay, but I want to tell you something, sir. In this text exchange, she says address or what? And you answer her, enjoy my money while it lasts. You remember that? And then when you got out...
Blondie O'Barron has accused his ex-girlfriend, Sharila Williams, of stealing property and taking money without his permission. Sharila is countersuing Blondie for property damage.
I'm now addressing your counterclaim. I want you to tell me what happened on October 28th.
So what happened was I came home to him tearing up different items around the house. He tore up a wardrobe of mine. There were some TV damages done. As I came in the house, we were arguing. We had been arguing.
What were you arguing about?
I no longer wanted to be with him just for the past things that I've experienced with him. I was just done and over the drama, the mental abuse, the physical abuse, the verbal abuse. My kids are witnesses to this. I was just done, Your Honor. I wanted to move on. So I called the police, and then they informed me that they were arresting him on another charge for whatever he had going on with his children's mother.
Now you can stand up.
Okay.
Tell me your last name.
Moore.
Ms. Moore.
Yes.
You and the plaintiff have a child togetger?
Yes, ma'am.
One child?
Yes, ma'am.
Plaintiff was arrested for an altercation that he had with you.
Right.
When did that happen?
Huh? A couple weeks before he was shot. He had some mail come into my house, and I didn't realize that he had mail delivered. And so he came to my residence, and he was looking for the mail, and I didn't give it to him. And so I asked him to leave a couple of times. He didn't leave, and so then I called the police. And so that's when he had a warrant out for his arrest. for basically like disturbance of peace.
Oh, no. That doesn't make sense to me.
He tried to attack her with a crowbar.
Just a
Your
second. That doesn't make sense. I've been in this business for much too long, folks, I want my mail and I didn't give it to you, so we went to jail for 6 months. That didn't happen, madam.
No, it was that, like, it kind of got put under domestic because he did become, like, violent. He wanted
Well, that's what I'm asking you.
Yeah, he wanted
Don't
his
give me
mail.
this mail business.
He wanted his mail, so he had a crowbar, basically, approaching my vehicle. And so my nephew went out there and tried to stop it. And so they kind of had a back and forth shoving a thing.
Just a second. So now it's getting more serious.
Yeah.
Were you, sir, arrested with regard to that domestic incident?
Yes.
Was there a trial on that case?
Yes.
What happened with that case?
They dropped it and just give me probation.
No, they didn't drop it.
Yes,
If they
they
gave you
the charges.
Just a second. Listen to me carefully. The justice system does not put people on probation unless there is a conviction for something.
Right.
Now, they may have reduced the charges. Did you have a trial or did you plead guilty?
Plead guilty.
That's different story. You pled guilty to what charge?
Assault.
On whom?
Her nephew.
Her nephew, not her.
No.
Sit down. Okay. Sit down. I can rely on nothing that you tell me. So you were convicted of assault on her nephew. You were placed on probation.
I was already on probation for something else.
What were you on probation for? For something else?
Probation violation.
Well, you don't go to jail for probation violation unless there's another underlying crime. What was the underlying crime that time?
Driving.
Driving?
Yes.
No, driving is not a crime, sir. You were never on probation for driving.
Yes, I was.
Well, not in this country.
Okay.
Not in this country. You may be on probation if you have an aggravated DUI. You may be on probation because
suspended license, ma'am.
Well, because you had no license.
Yes.
Even driving on a suspended license, you don't go to jail unless you had something more serious. Before that,
no, Your Honor.
You seem to have an awful lot of legal problems, sir.
I have.
You have an awful lot of legal problems. You were living with this lady. She took out money. She paid bills. Forget it. You used your GoFundMe page. I don't know what for. Here's a phone. I listened to your counterclaim. Your counterclaim didn't say much. It said he destroyed some things in your house.
Yes, Your Honor. Blondie tore up some TVs that were in the house. I have pictures of.
That was in October. Almost a year ago.
Yes, Your Honor.
Almost a year ago. We're almost a year later. If he destroyed some of these items, where have you been about filing a case against him?
So I realized that the police department, they put out a warrant for the damages that occurred October 28th to an iPhone of mine.
Do you have
that police report, yes,
I'd like to see the police report. You cause any damage to things in her residence?
Actually, what happened...
Just a second to see the yes or no.
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay, the only thing that was reported damaged was an iPhone.
Yes, Your Honor.
Period. And the police reported that it was broken front and back, nothing else. No TVs, no nothing. That's what the police reported. They spoke to you and that's what you said was damaged. Did you damage her iPhone?
No, ma'am.
How did it get damaged?
What happened was the altercation that happened between me and her, she started, I was in the kitchen and then she was in the bedroom. And then next thing I know, I was opening the fridge. I'm sitting there and then I got a punch that come behind my head, and then she took off running and went outside and then called the police.
What did you use to call the police? Is not an answer. What did you use to call the police?
My cell phone, Your Honor.
Yeah. Your counterclaim is dismissed. So is your claim, sir. I suggest you stay far away from each other, and I'm going to tell you one thing. If he has violent propensities, you think twice. Be smart. Goodbye. Both of you. Goodbye.
This court is adjourned.
Blondie freeloaded off of me for a year and a half.
I don't think it was fair enough. I didn't really get my point across.
The final straw is my kids. My kids had endured enough, and it was just time for a change for us.
Forgive her. I guess she needed the money more than I do. I'm not really mad about it. It's okay.
I'm okay with the judge's decision today. I just gonna get my protection order and move on.
You know what was most distressing to me about that case, Sarah? The plaintiff's girlfriend, the mother of his son, was a well-spoken, articulate, together woman with whom he's currently living, despite the fact that he was convicted of a serious assault. He was originally charged with aggravated assault on her nephew. Then you have the defendant, another articulate, seemingly together person who had a responsible job before him. These two women accepting a place where they know they're going to live in fear of somebody that has violent propensities. Yeah. They both know it.
At least with the defendant, after they had that altercation in which she called the police, she left. She said, you know, her testimony today was, that was it for me. But you can't say the same thing for the mother of his child, so it's just unfortunate that she'll have to live with that fear.
I don't know how long.
We'll see.
Taylor is suing his former friend, Sabra Crockett, for the cost of a van.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 3065, Taylor versus Crockett.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Mr. Taylor,
Yeah.
I read your complaint. I have several questions for you.
Okay.
When was the last time you owned a car in your name?
October of last year.
What kind of car did you own?
2010 Lexus.
What happened to that car?
The upper and lower control arms were broke, and I couldn't drive it because I felt that it was too unsafe.
How long did you have that car?
About 4 months.
Was it insured?
Yes.
By whom?
I don't have the name of the insurance company with me, but it was insured.
Prior to that, you had that car for 4 months. What was the car you had previous to that?
Previous to that, 2000 Cadillac SDS.
On either of these cars that you had, either the Cadillac or the Lexus, had you accrued tickets and fines?
Yes.
How much?
I believe my tickets are around a couple thousand.
On both of those cars?
No, not on those cars, from cars prior.
I'm talking, well, you couldn't have registered either one of those cars, sir, if you had $2,000 in fines on other cars.
I have a photograph of the picture of the registration.
Of what?
To the Lexus on my phone.
Did you pay the $2,000 in fines on previous cars?
No.
No. Now we can get started with this case.
Okay.
This case says that you purchased a van. For whatever reason, you purchased the van. The defendant was a friend of yours. You asked to put the van in her name.
She asked.
No, that's not right, dear.
Okay. Go ahead.
Get it together, sir.
All
Would you
right.
please? I'm going to be respectful to you. You be respectful to me.
Amen.
Good. You asked to put the car in her name because you had unpaid fines and tickets and couldn't have it in your own.
Okay.
That's not an okay. That is a yes.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, just as long as we're getting it together.
Okay.
And she did. You bought the van. You paid $2,400 for it.
No, ma'am.
How much did you
The
pay
total
for it?
price, I have the bill of sale here. Evidence.
It says here in your complaint, sir, I paid $2,500 for the van.
Yes, I made a payment on the van since then of
May I see,
$200.
may I
Yes.
see the papers that he's showing me? I went to visit my friend in April 2022, who was a bishop, parked next to an old van at the church owned and asked if they would be willing to sell it. He said the church would sell me the van. I paid $2,500 for the van. That's your sworn complaint.
Okay.
Okay is
Yes.
not, okay is great.
Right, but they decided that they wanted $2,900. I do have, Your Honor, I do have the receipt.
I don't, listen to me, sir.
Okay.
I don't care.
All right.
The reason you put the van in the defendant's name was because legally you were not allowed to put it in yours because you had unpaid fines. And what happened, according to the defendant, is that in the time that you had the van, which was from what month and year to what month and year?
May the 1st of 2022, and she brought the police.
When did she take the van back?
May the 7th. May the 7th of this year.
And in that year, according to the defendant, she took the van back because you had, again, acquired a lot of tickets on it.
2 tickets, which I paid.
Really?
Yes, I have the receipt.
Well, then she's going to have to show me. She said you acquired $1,600 worth of tickets. Is that what you wrote?
Yes, I did write that, Your Honor.
Do you have proof of that?
I have proof as what the tickets are and what it would cost to get this van in shape.
No, that's not what I asked you. I said,
I have some here, yes,
just
I
a
do.
second.
Okay.
Answer.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम एवरीवन, हाय अस्सलाम वालेकुम तमाम दोस्तों का क्या हाल है। इंशाल्लाह उम्मीद से खैरियत से होंगे। और हम इधर सऊदी अरब में हैं और ये अफराज कंपनी का एक रूम है, आपने नाम सुना होगा अफराज, तो उसी में बैठे हैं, काम के लिए इंतज़ार कर रहे हैं। 1-1.5 महीना हो गया बैठे हैं इधर, इंतज़ार कर रहे हैं। पहले जो हमने आए थे शोरूम में 2022 में, तो वो कहानी आप लोगों के साथ थोड़ी शेयर करेंगे कि 2022 में जब हम लोग आए तो हम लोग अफराज कंपनी में आए, तो हमें 1 हफ़्ते के बाद मदीना भेज दिया। ठीक है, मदीना में हम लोग 2 साल पूरा काम किया, हरम शरीफ गए, मक्का मदीने उम्रे किए वग़ैरह वग़ैरह, ज़ियारतों पे गए, बहुत सी जगहों पे हम लोग मदीना में घूमे। उसके बाद जब वहाँ प्रोजेक्ट ख़त्म हुआ, इनका एक कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होता है, प्रोजेक्ट ख़त्म हुआ, उसके बाद हम लोग आए रियाज़ में। फिर हम लोग बैठे रहे। जो हमारे साथ लड़के आए थे वो बहुत खुश नसीब थे, जिनका जल्दी काम हो गया, ट्रांसफ़र जल्दी हो गया। हम 2 महीने तक बैठे रहे और हमने उनको ये बोला था कि हमें मक्का के लिए आप लोग भेजोगे। फिर उन्होंने ऐसे ही किया, उन्होंने हमें भेजा मक्का। फिर हम लोग गए मक्का में, 2 महीने वहाँ काम किया। वहाँ गए, बिल्डिंग दी, ज़बरदस्त होटल था, अच्छा माहौल था, अच्छी सैलरी दी, अच्छा पैकेज दिया और टाइम भी दिया। 2 महीने वहाँ काम किया, उम्रे भी माशाल्लाह वहाँ किए। कि मक्का में अब हरम शरीफ में गए, ईद वहाँ गुज़री, वहाँ बहुत सी खुशियाँ मिली हमें और माशाल्लाह वहाँ बहुत हमारा अच्छा टाइम गुज़रा मक्का में आने के बाद फिर हम लोग वापस जो है रियाज़, फिर जहाँ पर हमें बैठना था आज वहीं एक महीना नहीं बल्कि 40 दिन हम लोगों के इधर होने वाले हैं और इधर ही बैठे हैं। आजकल करते हैं कि आप लोगों को आजकल भेज देंगे। अभी देखो ये लोग हमें इधर से कब भेजते हैं, तो इंशाल्लाह ऐसे ही मैं आप लोगों के साथ सऊदी अरब के बारे में न्यूज़ शेयर करता जाऊंगा। तो देखो फिर ये लोग हमें कहाँ भेजते हैं, क्या करते हैं, किधर नहीं भेजते, तो इंशाल्लाह इस बात का फिर पता चल जाएगा। लेकिन हमने पासपोर्ट के लिए रिन्यू के लिए जो है एम्बेसी गए थे, पाकिस्तान एम्बेसी, उधर रियाज़ में ही है, फ़ीस जमा करवाई। टोटल मेरा ख़र्चा आया 300 रियाल तक। 10 साल का 300 रियाल मेरा ख़र्चा आया। मैं एम्बेसी गया, वहाँ से पासपोर्ट रिन्यू कराया, अपनी लोकेशन दी, मोबाइल नंबर दिया, तो वो लोग बोले कि आपका पासपोर्ट 1 महीने के अंदर ही मिल जाएगा आपको। तो इंशाल्लाह भी उसी का वेट कर रहे हैं। फिर जैसे ही पासपोर्ट मिलेगा फिर हम लोग जाएंगे पाकिस्तान और इंशाल्लाह आप लोगों के साथ रियाज़ एयरपोर्ट का व्लॉग, इस्लामाबाद या पेशावर एयरपोर्ट का जो है वो शेयर करेंगे। आप लोग हमारे इस चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करते रहना, वेट करते रहना हर वीडियो का, हर अपडेट का, यूट्यूब के बारे में, वैसे टिकटॉक के बारे में। आजकल टिकटॉक मोनेटाइजेशन चल रही है, यूट्यूब मोनेटाइजेशन कॉपी वर्क का काम चल रहा है, तो उसके हिसाब से हम आप लोगों को जो है न्यूज़ देंगे इंशाल्लाह। आप लोग हमारी वीडियोस देखते रहना। ये मेरा बैग है, मैंने लिया था मदीना में, और ये छोटा दूसरा बैग है, पाकिस्तान से लाए थे। और ये हमारा रूम है, आप लोग देख सकते हैं, बहुत बड़ा रूम है। ये कार्टन भट्टी साहब ने पैक किया। भट्टी साहब हमारे दोस्त हैं, हमारे साथ होते हैं इधर ही। इंशाल्लाह अगली वीडियो में भट्टी साहब को मैं लाजिम लाऊंगा और जो बातें मुझसे रह गई हैं इंशाल्लाह अगली वीडियो में उसको शेयर करेंगे और आप लोगों के साथ जो है भट्टी साहब की बातें शेयर करेंगे, उनका नॉलेज शेयर करेंगे कि एक आदमी 12-13 साल से सऊदी अरब में रह के उनके पास कितना नॉलेज है अफराज कंपनी के बारे में, कहाँ कहाँ प्रोजेक्ट घूमा, कितना घूमा, कब से घूमा, कितनी सैलरी है उनकी। तो दूसरी वीडियो में आप लोगों के लिए सरप्राइज़ है इंशाल्लाह, ये आप लोग लाजिम फिर इंशाल्लाह देखते रहना।